Hello. So, as I've been praying about things, thinking about things, one issue that has come up in my mind that I feel like maybe I'm supposed to share about is forgiveness, right? Um, Forgiveness is one of those things that I love the way, I want to say it was C.S. Lewis said it. And I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of forgiveness is a great idea until you actually need to like forgive people, right? It's harder then. But in theory, it's great, right? We all understand that. We've received forgiveness and we should extend it, right? But um but I started to realize because for me, I have had I most of my life I didn't really struggle with the problem with forgiveness because I kind of the way that my mind was, I never really realized when I was being wronged. Um, I always just internalized it and made it my fault because then I could, punish myself for it or something. I don't know why my brain worked that way, but I just didn't get angry or anything. And then more recently, it's where things have hit me a different way, and suddenly I understand the problem. I understand that struggle because now I recognize when I'm being wronged, and I recognize all these times I was blaming myself that it wasn't even my fault. And um, lately, one of those areas that's been a struggle is especially in the medical stuff I deal with because um, I get so frustrated with like I have these issues that have been going on for so long and they just keep for so many years. I just let them again. I always just assumed it was my fault when they would kind of brush me off and stuff. I was like, well, I guess something's wrong with me. I guess I'm wrong. I'm not really, and it's been like really difficult to process that sometimes and to forgive and for like not forgive and forget, but forgive and like it's that whole if you are supposed to love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, right? Those people, and love keeps no record of wrongs. That one's hard sometimes to not be like, okay, well, last time you said this is what you said, and go and like, and instead just be like, okay, forgiving means I let them have a clean slate. I go in and I don't like expect them to do what they did before, and that kind of thing. And anyway, but I really started to recognize that one of the because I've always let me back up a little bit. So I've always understood to me that forgiveness is kind of like love, where it's not about the feelings of forgiving at the beginning, it's about the obedience and decision to forgive. And so, like, I believe that even if I'm not feeling like forgiving somebody, if I'm not, I still have some of the anger and I still have some of the hurt and I still have some of the frustration. I can still choose to forgive them. And I can, the same thing, like stop keeping a record of wrong, stop bringing up those kind of things and make that choice and wait for the Lord to bring the feeling, right? Um, just like I think that's the same with love. You choose to love people that you don't necessarily feel like loving, and you trust that the Lord is going to love them through you because you might, especially some people that there's just some people that are definitely are, that iron sharpens iron. There's some people that we really just rub up against a lot that's harder, and we need the Lord to show up. And so you make the choice and trust the Lord will show up, right? But more recently, I started to recognize that maybe it's more so because of the types of stuff I'm dealing with, the medical stuff where I'm being wronged and brushed off, or even kind of because I have some mental things as well, because I'm autistic, like people kind of make a pre-assumption about things, and it's just really it's very frustrating. And I'm not, and this is over the past year or so. There have definitely since I've really been trusting the Lord and letting Him go first, and it's been better. So, um, but I started to recognize that some of the issues I have with the forgiveness really come back to faith. And I'm telling you, the Lord is, that's the season right now. The Lord is like showing me like so many things come back to faith. And I started to recognize that, like, if I have faith, real faith, that God is able to take care of whatever circumstances are in my life, that He is able to heal whatever's going on with me, that He's able to, um, like for right now, as I'm dealing with these medical appointments stuff, if I'm trusting Him that He is able to reveal what needs to be revealed and be my vindicator for all the people who have been very dismissive and not taken me seriously and all of that kind of stuff. If I'm believing and trusting in his ability to do that, then it's a lot easier to let go and forgive people, because the part of me that's holding on, that doesn't want to forgive things and wants to keep that record of wrongs and wants to keep, is the part of me that needs something from those people, whether it's like the vindication to feel better, like, they made me feel small and stupid and like I'm an idiot and I don't know my own body, and like that kind of thing. And I want to make sure that they know they were wrong, like that kind of thing. Like, I want to feel vindicated. I want to feel heard. I want to, there are things that from them that that's when I'm thinking about how it should be, right? How I should have been treated, or how whatever should have gone. It's harder for me to forgive and really like let the slate be clean. And then it's harder for me the next appointment to have faith that the Lord is leading, right? And this is just, I'm using the doctor stuff and everything because I think that it carries over to all of the other areas of my life as well. Because there have been personal relationship things where there is still an aspect of having faith that if I've been that seriously hurt, and if my life has been that seriously derailed by this thing that happened, or where I was wronged or whatever, do I trust the Lord that he knew that it happened? He allowed it to happen. So he has a plan to get me out of this mess. And just that kind of thing. Like, I think it carries over into everything. But it's like, if I really truly have that faith that the Lord is who he says he is, and that he's got all of this, then there's not really a place for me to hold on to that unforgiveness and that anger and that hurt and that, and another thing that, I don't know, this is something that also is when I started going through my gosh, I don't know how many years of disillusionment. It's been an interesting ride. But that the Lord revealed to me about people, right? Who people are, what people aren't, and recognizing, like, because we have this idea of like, we love people and we trust them and we do all the, there's all this. And I realized, like, that's out of place. Like, we don't trust people. Like, we shouldn't trust people. Not because people are bad or wrong or evil or whatever, but because when I trust somebody, I put an expectation on them of something that I need or want that they may or may not be able to give me. Because some of the things that I'm really demanding from people around me are things that only come from the Lord. And they don't, sometimes the Lord will reach through people and provide those things, but that's kind of unfair to people. And then also, like, because I think this came from the passage, there was an utmost for his highest that was talking about it, but the passage is about, I want to say it's somewhere around where he's healing the paralytic that they let down through the ceiling, and he says, your sins are forgiven, instead of you pick up your mat and go your way, like, instead of you are healed, he says you are forgiven, and people are thinking all these things. But it's around that time, if I remember right, that he said that it says that that Jesus did not entrust himself to anyone, because he knew what was in their hearts. He didn't have anger, he didn't have distaste, he didn't have, like, the distrust that we get, where we're like, what do I do? Like, I've got to act in distrust. But like, he just knew people are flawed, people are fallen, and they're not going to be, he already knew his 12 disciples that he chose. He knew which one was going to betray him, and he knew who was going to run away in his hour of need. And he knew what was there. He didn't love them any less. It didn't change any of that. But like, sometimes the expectation we have of people to be able to be what we think they should be, can lead to a deeper resentment when people fall short, because people will fall short. We all fall short. I mean, and for me, I also like, I'm not going to put trust on other people as a burden. In my opinion, it is kind of a burden. When I have difficulty even trusting myself, like, I can't even trust myself to remember things sometimes, or, like that kind of things. It's just like, because people can have the best of intentions and still really mess up and still really hurt us or do the wrong thing. And so I just, for me, that was also having that understanding that people will fail you, that people will hurt you, that churches will do the wrong things. Like, we We are broken, right? And not just like having grace with that, but having that expectation ahead of time so that I'm not setting the bar too high for people, and for myself, putting my expectation on people when really my expectation is in the Lord. Because if a person fails me, but my expectation wasn't in them anyway, my expectation is in the Lord, then when that person fails me, I don't have as much resentment towards them as much as I have, um, like a focus of, okay, Lord, what are you going to do about this? Because this thing happened and I was thinking we were going this way. Like, where are you? Because my expectation is in him and not in the person. But so in a way, it really does protect me from those situations where I'm building up resentment towards people. And so for me, like in the medical thing now, that's where I really need to be have my mind and my faith is focused on the Lord, because he is able to do all things. He's able to make them see, able to make people understand, able to bring about whatever needs to be brought about, whatever healing, whatever, there's just so many things that like I don't notice it when I'm doing it sometimes, but I start to put my focus and my trust back in people, and then every time it's no bueno. Like it doesn't pan out the same way, right? Because that's not where my faith belongs, and they can't bear that weight. Like it's just one of those things. Like trusting people is putting a pressure on them, and sometimes when we choose to trust a person, we don't even ask them, like, and they don't even know that we have this pressure on them. And so it's just like, um, like if my doctors understood in the past, like how much pressure was on their one little decision, when they have like 10 minutes of time and they're just going by their little instincts, and it's just like to be like, oh my gosh, you have no idea what's riding on this. And that's for me, it's like, but it's not riding on them. It's riding on the Lord, and the Lord knows how to do this. And so my expectation, my faith needs to be in him, and my focus needs to be on him. And so anyway, I probably over explained again because that's apparently my jam, but so I will stop now.